Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We bring you stories of faith, love, and devotion. Yeah, just kidding, please help us grow by hitting that like button. Now on to the story. Trust and Long Journey M50s, F50s, 24-year marriage. Advice. My wife and I are hesitantly moving forward. We love each other, but have truly serious trust issues. She received a spam email with my name in the body looking as though someone wanted to talk with me. It was from November of last year and probably spam or something from the guy she had an affair with. Poorly written and it was a little ridiculous. I can only say, it wasn't anything related to me and a bit absurd for her to even think it was. Anyway, the trust and immediate suspicion was my problem. I'm very aware I am taking a risk by staying with her. She was unfaithful and is really taking no risk in staying with me. Oddly enough, she cheated and is having more issues trusting me than I am with trusting her. Thoughts? I hope to simply move on, but am now aware of just how damaged her trust is because she lied to me. Ironic, and a bit sad. Cheaters very often project their weaknesses and moral deficiencies onto their partner. If you really don't trust her, it's time to plan your exit strategy. People revenge cheat, it's common. Moreover, her value is lessened by the fact that she cheated. She is probably aware of this. Projection and lack of empathy. If this is her approach to reconciliation, then you might as well stop wasting time and move on. You don't heal by entering a toxic cycle, and the toxic person needs to learn to be healthier. Dude. She's messing with your head. I guess you know her better than anyone at this point, but this almost sounds like a false flag attempt. Is she portraying you as a cheater so she can justify screwing you over again? So you decided to stay with her instead of divorcing? When the cheater isn't 100% being proactive in helping their spouse heal and easing the effects of the broken trust, those are signs that they aren't actually sorry. In fact, her mistrusting you is a way for her to bring some parity in terms of the trust level. It's a way of justifying her not actually being sorry. It's a "well, you are also a cheater" excuse. And sadly, where there is no real remorse, the likelihood of further infidelity is 100%. People project. We all do. She's a cheater, ergo so are you. Add to this, what could she possibly do or say if you cheated? Not really a lot she could say. Right? Cheating is simply about value. If you value yourself and your marriage more than an affair, you won't cheat. Right now, I'm not sure she has a lot of value in your mind. If it were me, I'd be straight up with her. I'd simply say that I would never cheat. It's not because I love you, at this point. It's not about the value I place on our relationship. It's about morals, virtue and respect for marriage. People project their issues onto others. Cheaters assume everyone cheats. Liars assume everyone lies. Thieves assume everyone steals. Sounds like reconciliation is going to be tough. My thoughts earlier. Doing this with a low bar set, just realizing it won't be just about the one thing or just the things in my head now. I'm a little confused between a wife telling me she wants to stay, but hearing a conversation with a friend about how strange it was that I wanted to go on a trip. She is 1000% enthusiastic to me about, together? Stay or go, paused divorce until after the trip, but she can't seem to help herself? Vent/rant/FML. I've been in limbo for a while. Details aren't that important, but my wife did some bad things. I found out and filed. She went to pieces, swore she would never hurt me again, and I just overheard her telling me. Friend, it was strange. I wanted to go on a vacation with her, very nice one at that, after she begged, wept and did everything possible to stay in the marriage. I'm just puzzled. She can't be this good, and sociopathic behavior. One story to me, then something different to everyone else. I'm going and the cruise is paid, going to have a great time and try to reserve judgment. If nothing else, she's a good time, and, if not for the fact that she wants to be married or not, she'd be perfect, or a great booty call and friend. This is just a rant, but she's crazy, emo, and I'm pretty sure the divorce is going to be back on after we do the trip. You filed for divorce and then booked a dream vacation. Honestly, that is weird. It is totally mixed signals, and I don't know a single person who wouldn't be confused. It is completely normal for your wife to be trying to figure out your intentions. When you say the divorce is on hold until after the vacation, did you actually withdraw the filing? Otherwise, are you expecting her to go on vacation with you while the filing is hanging over her head? That's a heavy weight and would feel like some sort of test. Are you staying or are you leaving? Be clear. No idea at this point. We decided to try to work things out. I said I would pause. She broke down, convinced me she at least did not want to divorce. I have nothing to lose and perhaps reconcile with a wife who sincerely wanted another chance to gain. Our chances aren't great and I know this. Do I still enjoy her company? Absolutely. Honestly, I am incredibly confused by your line of thinking. No wonder your wife is as well. I don't see why you don't see it. Of course she is confused. Why are you judging her for saying that? It seems pretty darn innocent to me. Do you really want a divorce, or do you think you need to because of how you will look if you don't do it? To me, you seem confused about what you really want. Trip, haha. If she cheated, she will cheat again. That is the way of dishonest, selfish scum. Interesting take on how we deal with emotions and why consistency with a partner is more important than things in common. Anyone else read or heard this? I read something about meta-emotions and understanding emotional states earlier. Quite interesting. It appears to be more important to deal with emotions in the same way as a spouse or partner, more important than even having things in common. In considering this, I know my wife and I do not deal with emotions in the same way or even try. I share emotions, show feelings and try to empathize with her. She is uncomfortable and shuts down, sometimes never sharing why she felt the need to shut down in the first place. We've had a rough few years and this observation from a podcast hit very close to home. Our styles of communicating or being open with each other actually is stressful. I'm also realizing the feeling I have or the way I learned to blindly see ways to overcome issues, will create some true unhappiness for me. My wife was never honest about the affair and I think about it often. I don't trust her now and cannot forgive the person interfering in our marriage for several years. I also can't find it in myself to forget all of her choices. Rant. Does anyone ever get the trust back? Does the anger go away eventually? When do these feelings stop? Rhetorical, but feeling simultaneously in love with my wife or the person I want her to be, but see almost insurmountable history. Midlife isn't mid and feeling that disconnects from friends and family. It's been a strange few years for me. I find myself with a less certain future and I'm at an age where I am able to reinvent myself, but have a spouse going through her own crisis. Marriage has been a struggle, kids are in college, I'm the main income and it feels like my wife is someone I barely know lately. My family feels like it's falling apart. This is the point in life I realize I need all the experience and wisdom I may have accumulated in the last 50 years. Honestly, without family, I don't know what my future looks like. It isn't depression, more a profound lack of direction. I find myself looking for reasons my wife cheated and seeing the lies for such a long period. I match many of the feelings mentioned and described as PTSD or traumatic responses. Suspect we had little chance when she was never honest without prior proof. Is it sociopathic behavior to have a pattern of holding on to prior dating/intimate relationships, often to the detriment of their current relationship? Asking as I begin to learn more about our failing marriage. H50s/W50s. Advice. I'm just trying to understand. Not making a real difference. I can see how broken this situation has become. but I would like to know if this was perhaps uncommon, or at least watch for the signs and avoid them in the future. Our marriage has issues, but my wife holds on to old boyfriends like buddies she flirts with years later, texts, etc. There was infidelity, but I think her pattern of doing this created that issue partly. I don't want to have someone like this in my life ever again. Just asking if this is normal, common, or one of the dysfunctional flavors with a name. Therapy and not so sure my wife, 55, or I, am 58, will benefit at all. Vent/rant/FML. I'm hearing more about financial abuse from my wife and believe the terms are probably coming from her new therapist. I suggested she visit a therapist to help deal with her other extended infidelity and continued insistence she wanted me, loved me, and wanted to stay married. As I hear what I take as justification for what they did, I'm pretty disappointed. I don't think we're going to be able to move past this, since she's refusing to take any responsibility for anything, simply saying it was my fault for making money, asking her to sign a prenup years ago, very fair at the time, and now refusing to tear it up after she visited 4 separate divorce attorneys, had one guy thinking she would marry him and is still in touch after she promised she was no longer in contact. We just came back from a very nice vacation and I now believe nothing will be good enough for this woman. Divorce looming and I'm only wiser and older, but still saddened by this ordeal. I'm being accused of making her feel guilty for things she did, although I've said nothing for weeks and never unless she brought it up. So, no winning these battles. Sad stuff, and yet, I still love her. Sad for her because I still don't want to believe she is the person I now see in front of me. I suggested she visit a therapist to help deal with her other extended infidelity. I'll suggest to you that this is not worthwhile. She's the client in I see. So often a therapist is going to help justify the affair, tell her why she's not a bad person, or reinforce why you led her to have an affair. I speak from experience. A marriage counselor might help with this, different clients. I'm being accused of making her feel guilty for things she did. What? Another self-focused human can't own her own feelings. The basics of feelings just seems to escape her. Just trying to find my way. I agree with you. Many therapists simply repeat back and reinforce, never knowing whether they have a warped view of the marriage, only seeing one perspective. Your cheater wife is unremorseful. Have you read any books about cheaters like Not Just Friends or read the Chump Lady site? I get why you keep trying and hoping she'll stop blame shifting, but clearly she won't. She already broke your marriage. The divorce is to finalize that. She has been to 4 divorce attorneys. Clearly she doesn't want to be married and is looking for how to best dump you. You love who she used to be, or likely who you think she is. But who she is a cheater with no remorse. I'm aware and am dealing with this in the best way I can. At this point, I really don't expect to be married to her in the future. We have kids in college and entanglements to deal with. Wife getting a job will make the separation with divorce easier. Kid home for the next 2 months. Would like him to be back in college in the fall to pull the trigger. I don't hate her, just understand we won't be together and still have feelings. She's less able to hurt me now. When parting in a contentious way, how many ever have a cordial relationship after divorce? Life after divorce. I'm talking about cordial friendship. Contemplating divorce. I honestly can't imagine seeing my wife or seeing her with someone else. I just want to erase her from my future. Painful. Yes, we have kids, but a really rough few years, and I don't think I like her much at the moment, or even think she's a good person. As I get older, I realize respect and trust for a partner are needed for any love to remain. Thoughts and ideas love won't last without trust and mutual respect. Struggling with issues surrounding trust, this is the one thing we all need for any relationship to last. Call it honesty, commitment, or something else, we're really just looking for trust for and from a partner. In my 50s, a rough patch and change to relationships, I'm thinking of selling everything to just travel with as little as possible. I've been in the same town for most of my life. Successful, but my wife went a bit crazy a few years ago and we're going to be over. I don't know what to do with myself, but I'm profoundly without direction. Sad in some ways, free in others. Under what circumstances would you choose to stay married to someone you know, as absolute fact, isn't in love with you, but insists they are and acts the part very well? Son's roommate told him I was an awesome dad and he passed on the compliment. Still making me happy the next day. I stopped in to help my son move from his dorm room yesterday and one of his roommates was still waiting for parents to help. He'd broken an arm a few weeks prior and doesn't own a car. Anyway, I used to skate where he broke an arm, Kona in Jacksonville. I also know a little more about how bad his last semester was. Been there and done that myself. I said something about the skate park and knowing how easy it was to have an accident. He replied about the semester being pretty terrible and I said, hey, I learned a lot of lessons at your age. Worst is over and remember when you come back next year. Whatever I said, I basically said I'd been through it all and the only reason to feel bad is if he doesn't learn from the mistakes. We had a brief, but nice conversation, told him it was nice to meet and to have a great summer. Apparently, I made an impression and he was feeling a lot better, but made my day. He told my son how much he wished his parents were like me and how cool I was, about the nicest thing another kid, 19, can say to your son. M50s and F50s, married for over 20 years. Wife is staying in marriage for security, she wants to stay, but knowing why, I don't think this will ever work for me. I'm aware she wants to stay out of fear of change and for financial reasons. She is making a choice, comprising of something she doesn't really want, but has for now. She cheated a couple years ago and until recently was in touch with the affair partner, who wanted to marry her. I know, FUBAR. Gaslighting at an extreme level and I actually find it painful to kick her out. I have some financial protection and am not worried about that. I guess I understand her well enough to feel some empathy and I believe she will be damaged by the divorce. My sons are both grown and know the story. Sad actually. Reflecting on an odd childhood and isolation/loneliness, as an adult. I can remember so much from childhood, but one thing I only realize was very odd now is the amount of unsupervised time and how much time I spent alone. Reading books became my substitute for friends at a young age. As time passed, I changed, but spending all day on a Saturday playing in a public dump when it was closed, climbing trees, harassing wildlife, digging holes in the side of cliffs, carrying serious weapons around in single-digit ages and target practice when I felt like it. I learned a lot, but really did grow up with little real supervision. Dad would beat me instead of talking. I can remember a beating with an old broom handle, actually broken across my back. We had a dysfunctional family. Dad was 50. He grew up in a time when beatings were normal. I was told this anyway. Mom would say he worked and was a good man. Gave up drinking and gambling. Just looking back, my parents had an odd relationship. I had an odd childhood by most standards. I'm just reflecting on my life and considering how much my childhood changed the way I see the world. I really didn't see it as odd until my sons were born. I spent time talking with them, teaching them it was okay to show emotions, spending every spare bit of time with family trying to be a good parent. You're breaking the cycle. That's really, really good. The fact that you're doing it reflexively speaks volumes to the kind of person you are. You're a far better parent than the ones you learned from. Be proud of that. I've been reflecting a lot lately. Both on the nature of my upbringing as well as what was going through my parents' minds at times. I don't know about others, but something happened to me when I realized that both my parents were dead and now there's no one I can ask to verify things or find out what really happened. It's weird being the oldest generation. Mine were both gone 20 years ago. It is odd to be the oldest. Indeed. I remember thinking the concept of being the family patriarch was an odd and outdated idea. Right until the moment I became the family patriarch. It's weird being the oldest generation. Yup, to realize there's no one left who's supposed to be wiser about things than you are yourself. How do you make new friends? My situation, while not as drastic and extreme as yours, is similar. I was always alone as a kid and in adolescence missed out on a lot of the social opportunities that come with being a teenager. I did have some, just not enough to learn from. Now in my 30s I'm struggling to genuinely relate to my peers. The pandemic hasn't helped either. I faked it until the rough edges wore off. Join in even when it feels awkward. I also found sports and made a practice of learning something new every so often. Don't sit out the dance, even if you're dancing alone sometimes. I had some serious social anxiety for a while. I don't think anyone knew at the time. Yep. Fake it until you make it has some merit. I had to keep telling myself I am not my thoughts and no one else can read my mind. That provided the liberty to be myself, flaws and all. I invented the person I thought I wanted to be. Eventually, I saw the only negative was a missed opportunity and wasted time in my life. Thanks. I'm trying. I'm getting friendlier with my neighbor and all his friends. It's just that I don't have much in common with them. Last year I joined a kickball league, but didn't keep in touch with anyone when the season ended. Could sign up again this year. I can remember thinking about smiling at a few people each day or do a small kindness for someone, every day. Volunteer somewhere nearby. Just find a cause you feel matters and give a little time. You will be very surprised by the response you get when helping or genuinely interested in others. Just turn the focus outward. I realized my feelings were partly based on intense self-awareness. Turn that on others and you won't have time to feel awkward or alone. Much of our work as fathers is in being better at it than our own fathers were. My dad also came from the men are providers and enforce discipline school of thought. I reflect a lot on what my dad did right, and what he did wrong, and I try to do better. Sounds like you do too. I just finished reading Where the Crawdads Sing and the theme of the book is childhood isolation and the impacts of that into adulthood. It hit home, especially since isolation is a self-perpetuating cycle. Isolation in childhood often means we push people away as adults, or even go the opposite way of being way too needy and inadvertently pushing others away, further enabling feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. It's odd to think that for the vast majority of human existence, millions of years, our tribal societies meant that isolation would have been exceedingly rare, and probably deadly for that matter. There was safety from predators in groups and a band of humans were apex hunters. We're not evolved for that. Closest analogy I have is almost a kid's life with elements from Lord of the Flies. Not very attractive AP and laughing just a little. Rant. I'm laughing a little about this, but my wife's AP is just not a very attractive person. Physically, intellectually, in life, morality, anything. He's not anyone I would have guessed she would find attractive ever, and I would never have considered him a potential AP for my wife in any imaginary world. I'm guessing she was caught up in the online conversations? I think I wanted to see the person to compare. Why did this happen? I can see it wasn't about anything I or most people would see as attractive and more about someone totally focused on pumping up a middle-aged wife's ego. Without saying much more, I wonder how many cheaters end up cheating with someone less loving, less committed, less in pretty much every way? Healthy or a little strange of me to find humor/poetic justice in the bed she made. Actually most people cheat down. I think it is the ease of access as well as a power dynamic. How are you dealing with it? I'm beginning to feel less for her as I see how far she went. Really rough for a while, but I lost 50 pounds, am in better shape than I was 20 years ago and am feeling pretty good. Initially, I think I felt inadequate somehow. Now I feel pretty great. Ah, the old revenge glow up. I'm with you, it's been fantastic and glorious. I lost 69 pounds and I'm staying there, because I'm immature enough to enjoy telling people that, dancer, good on you. Nice. Exactly for this reason. Never get old. Good bot. Never ever lose more, or gain more, unless it's to another weight that ends in 69. You're my hero. Now you can trade up. The best revenge is success. Agree here 100%. Likely you had traded down and didn't even know it. Time for you to trade up and enjoy, smiling face with hearts. This. A faring down is pretty much universal. The conclusion I am coming to is that wayward spouses are seeking validation and attention above all else. Doesn't really matter from who. And it also explains the sexual acts that wayward spouses doing with AP that they would normally not do. Anything to keep the attention spigot flowing. And it is very much like drug addicts that can't quit despite knowing their actions are harming themselves and everyone around them. It's all so ugly and complex. As someone who divorced a serial cheater, I really enjoy seeing stories of AWS who realized their mistake and poured their heart and soul into our and gained a restored marriage. I want to believe in redemption, true love and personal growth, I guess. Sadly, this is in very short supply amongst cheaters. We hope that by sharing these stories with interested folks like you, we can help people recognize the signs of a relationship in trouble, and avoid so many of these heartbreaking situations yourselves. Have a good day or night. Wherever you are,